stream start to absolute perfection. And of course, you hopefully do recognise my voice. It hasn't been that long, certainly not long enough for you to forget me. I am, of course, Zach Sweeney, and I'm returning. And hopefully it's going to be an absolutely amazing welcome back to the CCR Network and to the NRL Championship. And, well, it's been a while. I haven't been in the commentary booth since round number 1, and a big thank you to Van Rocco and any other commentator that has stood in for myself since, well, during this period. Of course, I've been very busy with Le Mans and other things like that, but I'm back, and hopefully we're going to have an absolute banger of a race, and we head to Italy and to the Temple of Speed. That's right, it's the Autodromo Nazionale di Monza, and well, it is definitely one of the best tracks we have on the Formula 1 calendar. Something a little bit different today. We're trying out the sprint qualifying format. So we're going to have 2 races today and 1 qualifying session. It's an 18-minute qualifying session. The short qualifying format follows by a 5-lap race. And the order of that 5-lap race will determine the grid for the 27-lap 50% race that will bring home the most amount of points. As it stands, Stein seems to be running away with the championship, but Toss in a very, very nice looking at P2 in the championship, considering how he was only in P18 with 16 points at the end of last. Still with some great performances, and of course starting the season off with a win, and he comes to the Temple of Speed in a McLaren, and in no other than Daniel Ricciardo seat himself. So he's got it all on his shoulders. He's got everything to play for today, and he's definitely going to be given his absolute everything to try and close the gap to Stein, who is not on the grid today. So it's a perfect opportunity for Toss to close that gap, and if he can bring home a win, it's going to be ever more perfect for him to do so. In the McLaren is in fact first out. He's not going to be waiting around. He's on the soft compound tyre. Of course, everyone having to do so. And of course, you're going to start the race on the compounded tyre that you set your fastest lap on, provided you are in the top 10. So only a 5-lap race, while yes, you can make up that time in the 5 laps. And of course, we have seen very much a lot of carnage in towards turns 1 and 2 at Monza. It very much is infamous for that around the Temple of Speed. You often see a lot of contact or something happening in towards the Rettifilio chicane. Qualifying is going to be important, and ironically, despite I believe something like 80% and an average lap speed of 250 kilometers an hour for our Europeans, that's quite quick. And because you're on the loud pedal for such a long period of time in this race and around this track, you don't actually have a lot of places to make that time up. You really only have a few braking zones and a few corners to make those tenths up, those crucial half a tenth, 3/4 of a tenth, whatever it might be that decides the positions. You need to nail every single corner, and well, you've got a long straight, you've got a long time to think about it, down towards the formerly known Parabolica, now the Alboreto curve. And one of the best corners on the calendar. It is amazing. It really widens on the exit. You can really slingshot yourself in. We're going to ride on board with Toss for his first run in qualifying, looking to set himself up well for the 5-lap sprint race that is ahead of us. You can see just trying to get that little bit of slipstream from Jurdy in front and coming towards the Rettifilio chicane, looking for that 100 board, braking just before it, use that engine braking down to second gear, clip that inside curb, miss that second one on the left through turn number 2. Get on the power as quickly as you can. Keep it to the right for Curva Grande. Easily flat out in these Formula 1 cars. Easily flat out in any GT car and any car that has any reminiscence of downforce. In towards the Della Rosa chicane. Coming up to a bit of traffic, but manages to nail it. Third gear over that first curb. Miss that second curb, as it will send you flying, and you will do a Giovinazzi. In towards the first of the 2 Lesmos. Braking just after the 50 board. You really have to chuck it in. Down to 4th gear. Use the track on the exit. Again, look for that 50. Down to 5th gear. Use the camber on the inside of Lesmo 2. DRS open as you go down underneath the old banking and towards the Ascari chicane. Again, a very quick, very flick left, right, left chicane. Braking at the 100 down to 5th gear. Use that curb on the inside. Don't want to use the curb here, and you want to be flat from as soon as you turn the car and straighten up the wheel. All the way through Ascari and now down this back straight. No DRS, but down towards the Alboreto curve. You can see his teammate Stuart Little on the right hand side, just moving out of the way nicely. Look for that 50 down to 5th gear. Chuck it in, trail brake in, use the front end of the car to really turn in early and then get that power down. And it's been a pretty good lap from Toss across the line. It's going to be a 1:21.098 for the McLaren. He's going to give his teammate actually a nice bit of slipstream down in towards turn 1. His teammate though going to have to be very careful. Toss moving out of the way very, very late. Hopefully that didn't well, hamper Stuart Little in any way, shape or form. Of course, the McLaren taking the Mercedes engine for this season, the 2021 season. And so far, it has proved to be an absolute menace in a straight line, and that's proving to be even more so prevalent today. 26-5 to the first sector for Stuart Little, not quite where he wants to be. Vert into P2, 22-0 on the medium tyre, so getting that bank lap time in and just trying to test the water a little bit. Vengeance goes quickest though, a 20.1, just shy of 1 second quicker than Toss. And on the soft compounder tyre, Toss definitely has a lot of time to find if he wants to do well and if he wants to try and stretch that championship lead at the front, or regain or close up that championship lead at the front, I should say. NRL Kachow, the reigning champion, managing to dethrone Honesy after 3 straight seasons of domination, has come into the 2021 game very much on the back foot. He's down in P19 in the standings, only scoring 6 points in the last 5 rounds. So Kachow, yeah, he's really struggling after winning the championship. You really would have thought he'd have come into this season on an absolute high. I mean, he's purple to the middle sector, so the pace definitely there for Kachow as Cali Rob gets himself into P3. Stuart Little sets in P4, just behind Cali Rob. 15 thousandths of a second separate the two. And we're on board with the Haas of Kachow in towards Alboreto, looking for that 50 board, just so that white line on the track pretty much connects into P3, 21.291. Not too far behind Toss, not too far in front of Cali. Nice middle ground between the two. Kachow, though, across the line is P2 with a 20.313. Very, very nice lap indeed from the Haas. Definitely doing a lot better than the real-life counterpart of the actual Haas's. Mark of Kenya setting himself into P7 in the Williams, 21.723 for him. Kachow moving over to the left as the Williams is coming through on his slowdown lap, and probably would have scared him quite a little bit, I would imagine so. Lasse with a 2-minute lap time at the moment. That's not representative at all, and that is more like it. A 21.174 for the Haas to make it a 2-4 for the two American outfit teams. Or two American outfit drivers, I should say. There's only one American team on the grid, and NRL Ben in the Alpine. Henry has unfortunately left the session, and hopefully it will get himself back in. Getting a little bit of a slipstream from the McLaren in front of Stuart Little. Won't be getting much of one though, in excess of 200 miles an hour as he slams on the anchors. 4th gear, 3rd gear, that's probably slowed the car up too much, and again, when you go down too many gears, it does lock the rears and you lose that momentum with the turning of the wheels. And as you can see, slowest of the bunch, P10, 22.1, grounded on the medium tyre, but again, can be a lot better. This is the 3-time champion of Honesy, one of the favourites for every season that he's been in. A very tight championship in season 4, despite missing quite a few rounds. Just goes to show how quick he is as Kachow stays at P2. He's looking to go for another lap as we approach halfway through the session. And you'd have thought that coming into the season, Honesy and Kachow would have been fighting, well, neck and tail for both of them, but it's actually been Stein on a bid, Stein, in fact, very quick driver, very consistent driver, and one that did impress all throughout Season 4. Of course, my debut season in the commentary booth for NRL during Season 4, really impressed. One of the standout drivers apart from the championship runners, and he's currently leading the way with 74 points over Toss. Across the line for Honesy to start his lap. DRS open, that drag reduction system. You don't run too much rear wing around Monza, but every little helps when you open the rear wing, and that's definitely going to reduce drag. Then he slams on the anchors down to 2nd gear and towards the rectifidio chicane. That was pretty much surgically precise when it comes to hitting those apexes. Really, really nailed them. Could have put a 50p coin on the inside and he definitely would have smashed it without going too far. Keeping it tight to the right hand side off the exit of Curva Grande, bringing it back and to the 100 board. Purple to the first sector, 26.3. Getting a bit of a lock up in towards turn number 4. Can happen in towards the first of the two Lesmos, down to 5th gear. Using the track on the exit. Lasse at the moment P4, and coming into the pit lane 21.174. Jerdy gets himself into the sub 21 and himself on to the 2nd row for the sprint qualifying. Honesy under the old banking in towards sector 3. Purple again to the middle sector. Honesy on an absolute flyer of a lap here. You can just see what he's trying to do in front of the home crowd. The Tifosi in a Ferrari, him and David are going to be giving it their absolute everything, because to win in a Ferrari and to win at Monza is something special. In towards Alboreto, chucking it through 4th gear, going a little bit too deep, but you can carry that momentum and really get the throttle down early, bringing it back, shortest run to the line. You can see keeping that wheel as straight as possible across the line. It is going to be provisional pole for the Ferrari. Ferrari in front of the home crowd. And well, if you could hear the crowd, I'm sure the Tifosi would absolutely be roaring at the moment. A 20.067 for Honesy, who sets himself up just over a tenth of a second ahead of Vengeance. And I'm just have to apologise for the quick intermission. Only be a couple of seconds. Don't go anywhere. As I said, huge apologies, but I'm back and I haven't missed much. Honesy's still leading the way, but Vengeance is going to want to retaliate about that. Over the last couple of years in real life Formula 1, certainly in qualifying, it has been Mercedes versus Ferrari when it comes to qualifying pace. Of course, Kimi Räikkönen took pole in 2018, and then Lewis Hamilton in 2019, and 2020, I believe, as well. Yeah, set in 18.8 in the 2021 Q3 session to set the all-time track record around the Autodromo, the Nacional Monza. Vengeance though here to start his second lap. You can see him validated his outlap, keeping it a short run to the line, making sure he can maximise that in already excess of 200 miles an hour as he opens the rear wing. You can just see that speedometer climb and climb and climb. 210, maybe 211 as he slams on the anchors. Yep, just about slamming down on the brake pedal. You can see the car bottoming out almost. The revs really just dropping because he's getting down the gears very quickly, just slamming on the brakes, and it's very scary as a driver when that sort of thing happens. Through Curva Grande, using a little bit too much curb, I would say. Which is certainly less than ideal, but he does go purple to the first sector despite that. 26.380 over the second curve through the Della Rosa, going a little bit wide, dipping a wheel onto the gravel, but no harm done. And he's given, I believe, his teammate a nice little bit of a tow behind as well. So he's certainly not going to be complaining. A little bit deep towards Lesmo too, though that can hamper him, and you can see backing off. But Kachow, a 1:19.933, just over a tenth of a second quicker than Honesy. And Kachow, he might well be back around Monza. And if there's any time to do it, it is now to come back and see where he can recover himself in the championship. As Vengeance's teammate goes for a bit of a spin over the curbs through the Ascari chicane. Connects. Yeah, he's going to be facing the wrong way, and that certainly isn't the quickest rate around the track. But Kachow, an absolutely incredible lap. Lasse at the moment P3, so it's a 1-3 for the Haas guys. Really looking strong around around Monza. And yeah, incredible stuff. Really, this is ERT Henry, P14 at the moment for the Red Bulls, who, in all fairness, have never really done it too well. And that is Toss in the McLaren, someone who wanted to be one of the favourites tonight, around facing the wrong way at the Rettifido chicane, managing to get himself going with 6 minutes left to go in this qualifying session. He currently sits at P7, just a couple of tenths, well, just over a tenth and a half behind Vert in P6, and about a couple of tenths off his teammate in P5. Won't take much. Toss might need a tow, or just to be that a little bit more courageous, and well, that's certainly going to gain you a bit of time. It might get you in trouble with a bit of with the stewards, but definitely the quicker way to go about things. And well, straight line on the first chicane, definitely going to be the quicker way to go about things. 5 minutes and 40 seconds left to go before we get ourselves ready for the 5-lap sprint race to set the grid for the 27-lap race of the 50% that is Monza, for round number 6 of the CCR Network's NRL Championship. One of the best championships on the CCR Network, and I would definitely argue when we've got such close qualifying, such close championships, such close drivers, such incredible racing such as this in NRL, you definitely can't not mention it when it comes to some of the best championships on PS4. ERT Henry into P6, a 20.414, and he's taking my advice. Look at that, so much quicker when you go straight on at T1. The marshals might be a little bit annoyed at you because they have to replace the polystyrene boards, but you know, at least you're going quick. Toss into the pit lane, P8 at the moment because of Henry's lap of a 20.414, a little bit behind Stuart Little, very close indeed, and I'd say any one of the top 4 definitely favourites for pole. 4 minutes 40 left to go. They're going to get one more lap in. This is Mark of Kenya on his outlap, currently sits on a 21.723. Both Williams seem to be struggling quite a lot when it comes to their out-and-out pace at the moment in qualifying. They have got the 5-lap sprint race, of course, to make up places and keep it clean. But the thing with the sprint qualifying is that if you mess up, if you spin, you have no time to make up those positions back. Everyone's bunched up. You're going to plummet down to the order. And if you take one too many risks, you're going to find yourself at the back of the grid. For the race, for Mark of Kenya in the Williams. Of course, Williams having a pretty decent showing at Monza. Despite not having the best of paces, they managed to scrape points with a great strategy. Whether that would have been with Latifi or George, either one of them definitely would have got points in real life. And let's see if Mark of Kenya can really emulate that success in towards turns number 1 and 2. Pretty nailed, if you ask me, and keeping it clean. Shame we can't see his dash because of the HUD in the way. Through Curva Grande, 190 miles an hour as that car is sucking its way through the floor, using every little bit of drag, every little bit of air that flows over it in order to generate downforce. Purple to the first sector for Mark of Kenya. Being a very tidy sector 1, and the Deda Roger was no exception, managing to get through there relatively cleanly. Same with Lesmo 1. Took too much of an early apex, I think, and that allowed the car to wash out a little bit. But still no harm done, as Domi Lee has managed to get himself into the qualifying session. I believe he has to start the race at the back of the grid. But it's good that he's got himself back in this one. 6 attempts to the to the middle sector up of Mark of Kenya. This is going to put him on a 21-1, and that'll settle him into P12 ahead of Connect. And if he can find a little bit more through Alboreto, could see himself even higher. Mark of Kenya, very quick driver through Season 4, even impressed around 1 of Season 5. And let's see what he can do. Kachau and Lasse both heading out for their final runs in qualifying. Mark of Kenya across the line is P7. Good effort, 2 1,000ths of a second behind Henry, and to see himself onto the 3rd row, but not a bad effort by any stretch of the imagination. Mark of Kenya well inside the top 7, and the top 4 now heading their way back out onto the circuit. Kachau at the moment provisional pole for the sprint race. Honesy in P2 with Lasse P3, Vengeance in P4, Stuart Little P5, Henry P6, Mark of Kenya P7, Vert, Toss and Cali round off the top 10 in 8th, 9th and 10th respectively. This is Kachau through the 2nd Lesmo. He's going to want to try and improve upon his time. Let's see if he can improve upon that time. It's going to be hard. It is a very quick time indeed, 19.933, especially with the new update slowing these cars down to be more in line with the real life Formula 1. It's hard to get sub 20, and he's done that very well. He just needs to move out of the way of the Red Bull who's coming up behind him. In fact, I don't think that Red Bull is on a particularly fast lap by any means. I think he's on an out lap, and it might just be Jurdy. We'll ride on board with Kachau. This is going to be his final effort. 1 minute and 25 seconds left to go in qualifying. The checker flag will be out the next time he comes around this circuit. DRS open as he blitzes his way back down the pit straight in the Haas. Does not want to deny the Ferrari of pole. Well, the Tifosi certainly don't want him to deny that Ferrari of pole, but Kachau on his resurgence and trying to find that pace that he showed in Season 4 once again. He's looking good. Lasse makes it a Haas 1-2, a 1:19.999. And that is a all Haas front row, but it's going to be very, very close for Honesy, who's not coming out onto the grid or onto the track. Kachau 2 tenths up to the 1st sector. He's looking to just absolutely run away with this. 2 tenths up, and definitely purple. Honesy deciding to stay in the garage. He's comfortable with P3 and does not want to go again, does not want to waste a second set of tyres. Potentially 36 seconds left to go in this qualifying. It's down to this. At the moment, Haas 1-2. Lasse, is he gone for another lap? Does he want to deny his teammate of pole? Can he deny his teammate of pole? Mark of Kenya going for a retirement, and 2.5 tenths up to the middle sector goes Kachau. He's looking incredibly quick and good for a pole position here in Monza. 196, 197, 198, 199, 200 as he slams on the anchors for not for very long. Down to 5th gear, chuck it through, use that throttle pedal, really turn the car through Alboreto. Shortest run as possible to the line. Is it going to be quicker? Is it going to be pole position? Yes, it is. It's a 1:19.757 for Kachau. Can his teammate deny him of pole position here in Monza? It's going to be a Haas 1-2, but which Haas is it going to be? Lasse just shy of 2 tenths up in towards the middle sector. Is it going to be enough? 1:18, 1:19 across the line. It's not enough. He's slightly down in his time, and P2 is the best that he can ask for. Stuart Little, P5, Henry a little bit up on his time. Could even maybe look good for a 2nd row start. As long as he can keep it clean through the Ascari chicane and down towards Alboreto. second row start definitely would be good for the Red Bulls that seem to be struggling so far in these qualifying sessions. Go around and open up the steering. Shortest run as possible to the line. Has he gained enough to see himself into P4, maybe even P3? It's P2 for ERT Henry, a 1:19.971, splitting the two Hasses. What a lap in the dying stages from the Red Bull to get himself onto the front row. And well, that is going to be something special for him, and he's definitely going to want to give it his absolute everything in the race. Well, the 5-lap race, the sprint qualifying is going to be the right-hand side in towards turn 1. If he can get a good enough launch, he can definitely have a little look up the inside. Connect, not going to be improving upon his lap. Toss either. It's P13 for him, while his teammate is up in P6. But P6 to P13 separated by not even 0.2 of a second. 1.99, or no, 1.91 tenths of a second, separating 7 positions, or what? Yeah, well, yeah, 7 positions. P6 to P13, very, very close indeed. But Kachau is the man to take the qualifying pole. Can he take the sprint pole as well? That is going to be the question that will be answered in 5 laps time. Do not go anywhere. It's going to be an absolute thriller of a race, I'm sure. Nice, certainly, and one that cannot wait. Don't know about you guys at home, but so far this has been a very, very nice welcome back, and a good qualifying in NRL. It's something we've become very much accustomed to. We always get good qualifyings in NRL. Always, always top-notch stuff. So definitely do not go anywhere. Kachau doesn't seem to be happy with his lap despite being on pole position with a 1:19.757. ERT Henry in the dying stages in the Red Bull, a 1:19.971. He'll line up alongside the German, the reigning champion, in towards turn number 1. Lasse and Honesy make it an all-Dutch second row, third and fourth respectively with Vengeance P5. Stuart Little in P6 with Mark of Kenya P7. Cali Rob in P8 with Vert in P9. Tom Groproth rounds off the top 10 with Domily in P11. With NRL Ben in P12, Toss in P13. Disappointing quality for the McLaren. He's going to want to make up for it over the course of the next 5 laps. Jardy P14 with Connect 15th, and David in a Ferrari rounding off the grid in P16. And the Tifosi definitely not going to be too happy about that one. Stay tuned. We've got a 5-lap sprint race to determine the order for the 50%, the actual proper official race for round number 6, the Italian Grand Prix. And I'll talk you through it. My name has been Zach Sweeney, as always. Or I say as always, it's been a while. But hopefully we'll be staying here for the foreseeable future. As I do, NRL, incredible. Gotta love a bit of NRL. You cannot go wrong with NRL. It is an incredible league, and one where the drivers, incredible atmosphere, incredible racing, incredible qualifying, everything. Well, just ticks every single box you can think of, NRL. And that is something that not a lot of leagues can boast about. So if you do want to get involved, if you are seeing the CCR network for the first time, do make sure to message and get involved with any of the 3 leagues of SFR, FRL or NRL. All 3 incredible championships, and it would be a pleasure to have you on board. Always in need of new drivers, always in need of new talents to try and prove themselves against some of our best, because we do not have, well, any mean slouches by any stretch of the imagination. We've got Kachau, we've got Honesy, we've got Toss. Cannot forget about Toss. He's an absolutely incredible talent. The Scotsman, who is fueled on Iron Brew. Of course, other fizzy drinks are available, but the Scottish beverage, got to be the Iron Brew. Not entirely sure if there is going to be a formation up, or we go straight to the 5 red lights. It is going to be straight to the 5 red lights for the Italian Grand Prix sprint race, the qualifying. It's a Haas on pole, a Red Bull alongside, and we're underway, and it's a great start from pole position for Kachau, but ERT Henry has got an incredible second phase. They make contact in towards turn 1, and the Mercedes and Haas have gone round. There's a big crash, and they're going to be side by side in towards turn 1. The Red Bull of Henry looking to the inside. Honesy also looking feisty. There's the Williams of Tommy Lee up the inside. No, the Williams of Mark of Kenya going straight on at turn 1. Kachau leads from ERT Henry, and Honesy staying P3 side by side with the Haas. It's all kicking off. Dommy Lee in the Alpine though up into P4. Stuart Little P5, Vert into P6. A very, very chaotic start indeed. A lot of people trying to make up places very too quickly, and Vengeance in the Mercedes getting it all wrong, going sideways. Cold tyres definitely going to be the ones to attribute for that, but halfway through lap 1 of 5 is Kachau that leads. Henry and Honesy your top 3, and as it stands they will round off the top 3 positions for the actual race. Domily up in P4, Not sure how he's up in P4, but he is in the Alpine. In towards the Ascari chicane. Very, very chaotic start. This is Vert going around the outside of the McLaren in towards Ascari chicane. That is Ben going all the way around the outside of a very compromised Stuart Little, and Toss and Connect also making, capitalising of it. And that's Carly Robb, the American, going around in the Aston Martin off the Ascari chicane. And it's all going wrong for a lot of drivers. Really is going wrong. And they cannot seem to get it right. Toss going quite deep in towards Alboreto. This is going to allow Connect to maybe get the run off the corner. And we go back to the front because Domi Lee breathing down the 3-time championship neck. Kachow still leads from Henry. No DRS until lap number 3. It is a sprint race. It's a 5-lap sprint race, and you can definitely tell by the standard of driving because a lot of drivers want this dearly. Honesy getting it all wrong through the Retfield chicane. The Alpine of Domi Lee, though, really can't say much because there's no way through. ERT Henry have got it all wrong, though. Off the exit of the Retfield, he's tucked in behind Honesy, and even the Alpine of Domi Lee is going to look to the outside. He's going to go all the way around. It's now going to be the inside for the De La Rocha chicane. Is he going to go for 2 in 2 corners? He's going to go brakes late, but not quite late enough. ERT Henry leaves him to dry around the outside and manages to stay in front, but the Alpine has got an incredible run off the corner. Could look in towards the first of the 2 Lesmos. Can't quite convert. As Vert sandwiched between the 2 Alpines. Ben trying to get himself into the top 5. Domily racing this very hard, despite the fact he will potentially, I believe, start at the back of the grid for the second race, or maybe his penalty was just a one-shot qualifying. One of the 2. This is Connects on the back of Toss in towards the Ascari chicane. The McLaren squeezing him all the way, and in the end, the Mercedes just backs out. The Red Bull of Jurdy trying to find a way through. Also, as we come on to lap 3, Henry, a 2-second time penalty for multiple warnings. It's all going undone for the Red Bull after a great qualifying. Jurdy, you can see, breathing down Connects back, but Connects is still going to be the one to looks to the inside and towards Alboreto. Toss gives him the space, sort of flinches, nearly a bit of contact between the 2 Mercedes powered cars, and now the Honda is going to be a straight drag fight between the 2 power supplies in towards the pit straight. The Mercedes on the inside, the McLaren sandwiched in the middle. Here comes Jurdy, though, to the left hand side, 3 abreast down in towards turn number 1. The Ferrari of David getting a front row seat to all of it, and it's going to be Honda that comes out on top, and the Mercedes brakes very late. Bit of contact between the 2, and once again a Red Bull's mounted the Mercedes. They managed to carry on as if nothing had happened. They're inside each other as they go through Curva Grande. A lot of contact still mounting each other, and that could have not been more picture perfect to the real life collision between Max Verstappen and Lewis Hamilton in towards the De La Rocha chicane. Can Jurdy defend from the Mercedes? No, he can't. Toss also wants to look up the inside, will look up the inside. An incredible opportunistic move from the Scotsman. Connect's going to come back at him, though. That is a wrong facing way of I believe that was one of the cars. I believe it was Mark of Kenya going down the order, unfortunately, in this race. As DRS has now been enabled, it could allow ERT Henry to get himself onto the back of Honesy, who himself has got a 2-second time penalty. So if Domily doesn't start at the back of the grid for the actual race, he could be looking good for a front row start alongside his previous championship rival of NRL, Kachow. David, though, from the back of the grid, looking good to get himself into the top 9 to the right-hand side in towards the Alboreto curve. He's going to brake nice and late. The Mercedes is going to try it around the outside. Honesy, Henry, Domily and Kachow all trading fastest laps. And just goes to show their pace between each other. Stuck in a sort of DRS train, though. You can see Kachow now bottling it under pressure a little bit, going deep in towards the Retfield chicane. Honesy has managed to close up onto the back of these guys. David into the top 8, getting past Toss as well. Very, very quick resurgence to the front of the grid and well establishing himself in the midfield. Lap 4 of 5, the penultimate lap of this little sprint race. Mark of Kenya retiring from the session. It's going to be the back of the grid for him. Honesy 3/10 back off the race lead. Can he get himself on pole position here in Monza? Domily and Kachow both without penalties, though. That could be a major setback for the Ferrari and the Red Bull. DRS open for the pair of them. In towards the Ascari chicane for the penultimate time. Honesy's just going to wait. He's going to bide his time. He's going to just want to save that ERS that he's been using quite a lot, actually. He's now down below 10%. As you see, I see Henry side by side with Honesy. Yes, he is. He's looking to the left-hand side in towards the Alboreto curve. This battling, though, could allow Kachow to pull a gap. The Ferrari on the inside, the Red Bull trying to go all the way around the outside. He's sticking his nose in, but the Ferrari claims the corner. It's now going to be a straight drag fight. You can just see the speed difference the Honda has, trying to find a way through, squeezes a way through, and now onto the final lap. ERT Henry retakes P2. Domi Lee also wants a slice of the cake, going the long way round in towards the Rettifilo chicane on the Ferrari, who's going backwards in front of his home crowd, late under brakes. The Alpine around the outside manages to get the inside for turn 2 and into the top 3 without a penalty. Is looking good for a front row start, provided he can stay within 2 seconds of ERT Henry, and with only 1 lap to go, less than 1 lap to go in this race. ERT Henry putting that pressure on Cachao for the first time since the start, and down in towards the De La Roja for the final time. It's been a very chaotic sprint race. Honesy, another 2-second penalty. That won't be enough to see Ben promoted into the second row, but again, just another setback for the 3-time champion, who's been pushing very hard, it seems. And Cachao and ERT Henry both using every little bit of ERS they've got left down in towards Ascari, the final DRS straight of this sprint race, the sprint qualifying that has really given us some action. The Alpine looking to find a way through, trying to spot his braking point, but can't quite. They just need to get a clean run through the Ascari chicane, just try and find a way through. And Domi Lee, in fact, has got an incredible run. Is he even going to go for P2 on track? Doesn't even need the penalty, maybe. In towards Alboreto. It's going to be Cachao, provided he can stay and keep it clean all the way through Alboreto, formerly known as Parabolica, across the line. The Haas and the Red Bull have gone wide. In fact, the VRT Henry, he's going to come across the line. P3. Cachao is going to win the sprint race, and that's going to be pole position. Domi Lee into P2, and ERT Henry P3 with Honesy P4. A second row start in front of home crowd. NRL Ben comes home P7 at the end of it, but Vert on penalties. P4 after keeping it very clean indeed. That's going to be a second row start for the AlphaTauri in front of the home crowd. If it's not a Ferrari, it's going to be the other Italian outlet of the AlphaTauris to step up, and we'll see how we get going on the grid. Well, that was a very good, very chaotic sprint race indeed. Definitely couldn't have asked for better than that. So a Haas taking a very deserved sprint qualifying pole position. That's both pole positions in qualifying and in the race. He takes the win ahead of Domi Lee, who will join him on the front row for the 27 laps of the Italian Grand Prix. ERT Henry comes home P3 with Vert P4. Honesy P5 in front of the home crowd with Jordi P6. NRL Ben and P7 with David 16th to 8th. Not a bad run at all. And don't forget Connects and Toss both making up positions in this sprint race as well in 9th and 10th. The two Scotsmen going to try and get themselves forward as much as they can over the course of the 27 laps. Last 8 in P11 with Stuart Little P12. Tom Groproft in P13 with Vengeance P14. Cali Rob will round off the grid in P15 with Marcus Kenya, a DNF in the sprint qualifying. We'll see him last overall for the race here today, but it's all to play for. He's definitely one of the quickest people on track, and yeah, definitely a good day in the office for the Alpine guys. P2 and P7 they will line up. There's going to be something very good and something to definitely watch indeed. Stay tuned, because it won't be a couple of moments until NRL returns for the Italian Grand Prix. You've just seen the short qualifying and the sprint qualifying. We'll be back for the Grand Prix in just a moment. Well, not long left to go at all. The wait is over. 20 seconds until we get ready for the Italian Grand Prix. Free tyre choice across the grid. Doesn't matter if you're in the top 10 or below. You are in for a free tyre choice, and I will expect soft to medium or medium to soft to be the prevalent tyre strategy, but we never know in terms of safety cars and things like that. That what might happen. So we'll have to find out over the course of the 27 laps, half race distance. Loading in now and just waiting for confirmation on the grid, because the drivers have been informed not to ready up on the grid. They need to make sure they've got their setups on, because that is the most important thing. Not readying up with a very, very bad setup or a default setup, because 6 wings or whatever it is now, 8 wings I believe the default middle ground setup is, definitely not going to be helping you at Monza whatsoever. Maybe other tracks such as Melbourne, but definitely not Monza by any means. You'll be very, very quick through Ascari, but other than that, you won't have any grip. Or well, you'll be a sitting duck pretty much down the back straight and down the pit straight, and that is definitely not what you want. And comes to mistakes like that, making sure your strategy and your fuel loads are all accustomed to how you want it and how you're going to do, and obviously communicating with your teammate, making sure you're on top of all that also will help. Just waiting for drivers to ready up and for us to get the confirmation that they are allowed to ready up. And of course, Monza definitely a race of attrition, and making sure you keep yourself on top of things, making sure you're in that slipstream chain, because once you lose the DRS to the car in front, it's very, very difficult to make that time back up. As I said, there's only around about 11 corners around this circuit. The majority of it is taken at full throttle. And it's hard to make up time. It's hard, even with fresher tyres, it's very difficult to make up time. So you just need to be on your toes. You need to work with the people around you and make sure that ...24 seconds then until the formation lap, where we'll get ourselves underway. Tommy is asking for more screen time. Let's see if he deserves it. He's going to be starting P2. Let's see if he can give Cacciao a run for his money down and towards the Rettifilio chicane. Formation lap. Going to give us a chance to take a second look at the running order and what tyres everyone's going to be on. As yeah, finally everyone's readying up. And we go green for the formation lap. We're underway, and it seems pretty unanimous across the grid that mediums tyres are going to be the way to go. But 3 drivers, Jerdy, Connect and Tom, all on the soft compound tyre. They're going to go for a bit of a quicker first stint and then slow down towards the end of the race. And of course, with the fuel load slowly creeping down, their tyres are going to be in ever better shape towards the end of the grid. Towards the end of the race, I should say. Speaking of the ends of the grid, though, it's Cacciao at the front with Marcus Kenya at the back. They're going to be making up the bread of the grid sandwich that we've got going on. towards Della Roger. You can see everyone left to right, warming up the tyres as best as they can, trying to make sure that their tyres are in the best conditions they possibly can, because they do not want to do a ka-chow off the sprint race starting and go sideways in 4th gear, because that does not help anyone. Predicted pit stop strategy then, soft to medium or soft to hard seems to be the way to go. These drivers are going to go for medium to soft then, and hope that there's a safety car around about their pit window. In towards Ascari, left to right, using the abrasion of the circuit, using the friction to warm up those tyres, as Dominique definitely going to be warming up his tyres, goes for a spin, and luckily there's no damage on the formation app. He pulls himself back on, and well, he asked for more screen time, and we definitely got that on the cameras. Over through Ascari. He's going to be accelerating himself back towards the front of the field, and well, for Domi, that's going to be slightly embarrassing, considering he was, well, he's definitely one of the race-winning contentions for today, and to bottle it on the formation lap like that one, he's lucky, definitely, that there's no damage, and hopes that his tyres aren't going to be absolutely cooked, as ka-chow will line up on pole position, very much quite far down the straight. And of course, Jardy is going to be, in fact, very quick off this start. The second start we have to an Italian Grand Prix. The first was for the sprint. ka-chow is definitely not in the pole position grid slot. Not quite sure as to why the game's lined him up behind the Alpine. Hopefully that will sort itself out when the green flag shows and he resets himself about 8 meters to the left. There he is. As we now go to 5 red lights ahead of round number 6, the Italian Grand Prix. We've had 2 qualifying sessions and now 27 laps ahead of us. 5 red lights are on. Dominique alongside ka-chow, who is going to be underway and racing, and Dominique gets an incredible start from P2 on the grid. Of course, Henry as well getting an incredible start. Vert as well, as they will try and follow their way through in towards the Red Fidio chicane. Dominique takes the lead in the Red Bull of Henry in towards turn number 1. ka-chow is definitely going to be going backwards. That is a very that is a very big crash going off at the first chicane. Ben going off into the gravel, just skating across the Rettifido chicane, knocked the rears, or something has happened. Honesy, a 10-second time penalty for exceeding track limits. The Ferrari in front of the home crowd must have made contact with Ben, and that definitely set them back quite a fair bit. They're down into P15 and 16. As Jardy off the start has managed to make up 1 place, and that will be the position he made up on Honesy. Was looking to make up even more. This is Henry on the back of ka-chow. Dominique very comfortably leading ahead of ka-chow, Henry, Vert and Jardy, your top 5. The Red Bull, though, after a great start, managing to maintain P3 and even put the pressure on the Haas in towards turn 1. And you can already see the DRS trains that are going to start to form as we go on to lap 3 in a couple of laps time. Tossed down 2 places and going side by side with Vengeance, as Vengeance gets forced off and onto the gravel, but fair play to Toss there, because that was his line, and unfortunately things like that do happen. This is Tom Groproff on the left hand side of the McLaren in towards the Alboreto curve. The McLaren making it as wide as it possibly can. Very late under brakes goes the Williams. Going to saw all the way around the outside. Keeper's foot in, use the track on the exit. They're still going to run side by side off the exit and onto lap 2. You can see Vert side by side with Jardy, the mediums versus the softs. And towards the Rettifidio chicane has the AlphaTauri, got the drive in towards the first chicane, not quite. The Mercedes of Connect right behind him as well. A bit of contact as they go through turn 2. The AlphaTauri not really knowing where to go, as the Red Bull got a little bit caught up on the curb. David Shawn on the medium tyre as well, up 1 place into P7. Tom Groproff up 4, as Marcus Kenya also up 5 in towards the Della Roger. Going to look not quite going to be able to send, as he does go purple to the first sector on lap 2. That is to be expected, as the first sector of the first lap doesn't tend to be relatively quick, because you are standing still, as opposed to already having that 150 mile/hour buffer out of the second of the 2 Lesmos. No DRS for Connects as it stands, but he has got pure slipstream and the ERS that's going to propel him to the left hand side. He's going to be ahead before Ascari. Is the AlphaTauri going to go around the outside? No, he's not. Connects on the soft tyres, going to go around the outside. Jobs are good and as easy as you would like it. Dominique, though, still under pressure from ka-chow. 4:10 separate the 2 as we come on to lap 3 of 27. 1/9 already through this race, and DRS to be enabled. When we get to the No clue how anyone survived turn 1. It is turn 1 at Monza. ERT Henry, fastest lap at 23.3 as they funnel their way through turns 1 and 2 for the third time. Dominique getting a bit of a swamped exit. You can see David going side by side with the Mercedes. Also Vert trying to get himself involved on the action, looking to the inside, but David up into P6 now as well. This is ERT Henry, the fight for the lead. You can see the Haas having to go defensive, thinks about it, looking in his mirrors, and that just shows that Henry is inside his head and inside the reigning champion, making sure he's putting that pressure on, filling the mirrors and making sure that the Haas knows that he is there and he will go for the move if need be. Dominique leads the way still, but Kachow and Henry both going to have the ERS and the DRS down this back straight towards Ascari. Not going to be much in the way of a battle going on because 7/10 is a hard distance to cover in a short space of time, but it's going to allow him to close up. As long as he can keep it close through Ascari, through the left, through the long curving right and then back to the left. ERT Henry though, a much better run through Ascari than the Haas. Is going to be the long way round through Alboreto. Can he keep it pinned? He's getting the slipstream off Dominique, the Alpine in front, who's just switching in between the two. The Haas on the inside, the Red Bull going to go all the way around the outside, very very close to contact, still side by side on the exit. The Red Bull hangs him to dry, and the Haas and the Red Bull going to have a drag race down this pit straight. He's going to have to tuck back in though with the DRS, pulls back to the right hand side, and this is going to be music to Dominique's ears as they are still both closing. Kachow with the DRS, Henry as well looking to the inside, going to find the gap. Is he going to be letting off under brakes? Yes he is. He sends it, but the Haas comes back at him to the inside of turn 2. They make contact. The Red Bull still with the better drive off the Ret Video chicane and ahead and into P2. What a move from the Red Bull to get himself up into the top 2, and now going to be the one leading the charge against the Alpine that currently leads the way. And Henry in towards the Della Rocha chicane. Very opportunistic move, very nice move, as well as David getting himself into the top 5. The Ferrari definitely showing a lot of pace and a lot of promise after making up ground in the sprint quali, and now even more so in the actual race, and still a long way to do it for him. DRS for the Red Bull, who's in fact saved a lot of DRS despite making moves. So he's used that pure DRS, that pure slipstream power, as opposed to using the battery in order to close the gaps, and he's just putting himself in a very good position. He's on the mediums, he's got a penalty, but he's definitely got pace if he can get in front to outwit that penalty. Connects on the back of David as well. The fight for P5 will be lasting for quite a while. Tomgo Prof as well on the soft compound tyres is there lurking in the background, ready to pounce if need be. You can see Henry getting all sorts of wrong, still on the power and into the barrier. That's a big crash for the Red Bull, who just got it all wrong off the exit of Alboreto. And that is huge. That is a big shame for Henry, because it was just a couple of power slides. He saved it again. He saved it once, saved it again, but the fourth time he just couldn't, and he's coming into the pit lane for a set of hard compound tyres to the end of this race. Toss to the left-hand side of the Aston Martin of Calirob. Calirob claims the corner. The Mercedes of Vengeance, they're going to try and capitalise off it. There's contact and tosses into the wall, and the Mercedes has buried him underneath as well. And both of them more contact in towards the first chicane. Toss unlucky to be caught up in that. That definitely was not his fault by any means. Tomgo Prof into the top 4. There's yellow flags to set the one. No surprises there. I'm surprised we've not got a safety car. David down in towards P6. Connects managing to get back through, but on the soft compound tyres you would expect them to. Dominique leads 1.1 seconds ahead of Kachow, Jurdy, Tomgo Prof, Connects and David. Your top 6 with Vert, Lasse, Marco Kenya and Calirob. Your top 10. NRL Ben in the DRS range of Stuart Little in front. The McLaren's race definitely not going their way today at all in the fight for P11. Looking to the left hand side goes the Alpine. Has he got the run? Brakes late, but not quite late enough. You're not on the brakes for very long through Ascari, and we cut back to the fight at the front, because Kachow is putting that pressure back onto Dominique. Back within 1 second. Jurdy, well, once one Red Bull goes, the other one takes its place with only 13% ERS. DRS open for the Red Bull. He's going to want to save his battery as best he can. That energy recovery system, that extra 160 brake horsepower that he certainly cannot afford to lose. This is the Mercedes of Connects getting himself soaring past into the top 4. Takes the racing line before the corner. Goes in deep though. That could allow the Williams to set up a cutback, but in fact it's actually scared the Williams offline. It might even cost him a couple of places to David, who's got an incredible run off the corner and gets himself ahead. Vert is going to want to get himself off a shaken Williams. This is Mark of Kenya, the other Williams, going to go side by side with Lasse in towards the Della Rocha chicane. Lasse covering it off and making sure that the Haas in front is as wide as it possibly can be. Stuart Little as well on the back of NRL Ben, looking to the inside again, can't quite convert. And getting treated to a lot of battles up and down the grid, and the unfortunate thing is, the headache that it is for me is that I can't decide quite which one to watch, but definitely will keep checking in for this fight with the lead of the race. Through Ascari chicane, flipping the apexes nicely is Kachau. Now 3/10 is the gap at the front, and now Domily is going to start to feel the pressure. Jerdy going sideways off the exit of Ascari, managing to save it relatively nicely. Could see a change for the race lead here because Kachau is all over the back of the Alpine. He got a great start, has not looked back since, and this is the only time probably since the start of the race that he has really been under a lot of pressure. DRS open for the Haas. He's not even going to use his overtake. He's confident in the pure slipstream to the left hand side. It's going to be the long way around, but he soars past the Alpine, who does not have any defence to that one whatsoever. He's going to have to tuck in behind. You can see marginal bit of contact. The Haas is sent sideways. The Alpine trying to get a good enough run, maybe to put the pressure on him towards the De La Rocha chicane, but Domily a lot more ERS in the battery. He's using it to close the gap through Curva Grande. The pure slipstream not enough, and he's going to wait. He's going to bide his time, and he's going to hope that he can get that run maybe in towards Ascari, maybe in towards the Retafilio in a lap's time. Domily going slightly slower through the De La Rocha. That's a mistake that could cost him DRS of the car in front, and maybe even a position to Jerdy behind. In the Red Bull, the Honda power car, it's going to be Honda versus Renault, and I definitely know which one is the quicker of the two. Domily just managing to stay within the tow and the DRS range of Kachau in front. Tomgo Prof as well, wanting to get past the Ferrari on home soil. A top 5 for a Ferrari would not be a bad result at all, but a podium or a win is going to be what they deeply desire. Through to round off lap 7, Kachau leads Domily and Jerdy, your top 3. That hasn't really changed much over the course of the last couple of laps or so, apart from the change of the race lead. We saw a lap ago with Kachau managing to soar past the Alpine of Domily as they all come through Alboreto for the 7th time onto the 8th. Nearly a third of the way through this race, and Domily is going to be looking to respond to what Kachau did a lap previously. He's in the DRS. You can see Jerdy though closing at a red and odds on the Alpine. Is it going to be closing enough? Not quite. They're going to stay stationed single file. This is David going for the move in towards P4. As next goes around the outside, manages to not flinch, and it keeps himself ahead for now. But David putting that pressure on, looking to go the long way around through Curva Grande, and meanwhile Domily only 2/10 back on the fight for first place. David definitely wants to go for that move, definitely wants to get himself into the top 4 and make the Tifosi roar. But through the De La Rocha chicane, not quite got the run. In order to do so, he's going to wait, bide his time, and just try and capitalise as best he can. The McLarens 14th and 16th, definitely not going to be their day today as they go through Lesmo number 2 for the 8th time. DRS open for Domily, who's not using his ERS. He's saving it. He doesn't want to fall into the trap of wasting his ERS and then being vulnerable from behind, because it's very hard to, in fact, save your DRS and save your ERS. Around Monza, very ERS thirsty track, but he's still using it in little increments. Jerdy gets himself a 3-second time penalty, multiple warnings. I say, gets himself ahead of Marco Kenya through the Ascari chicane, and Cali Rob also going the long way around, maybe to get himself in towards the top 10. The Haas giving him the slipstream, the Haas also breaking the toe. The Aston Martin goes all the way around the outside. The Williams going to keep him pinned. Side by side they go. A little bit of contact maybe between the two, but we go back to the front because Domily is closing at a rate of knots on Kachau. Is he going to be able to send it to the inside? No, not quite once more, but this is David responding to the Mercedes. This time he's got a much better run. He's going to go up the inside, but the Mercedes even later on the brakes. Back up the inside for turn 2. Vert trying to push through and trying to fill the space that Connects made. But unfortunately couldn't quite, as David now comes back at him through the inside of Curva Grande. It's the long way around for the De La Rocha chicane. You can see how much Connects is squeezing him. This time it's the Ferrari on the outside in towards the De La Rocha chicane. Is the number 12 going to go all the way around the outside? No, not quite. And Vert just trying to pick a way through. So too is Tom, who takes a trip across the grass and of course the gravel, and doing a bit more of a rally cross than Formula 1 racing today. Domily, DRS open as he closes on NRL Kachau, now a third of the way through this race, lap 9 of 27. And Domily closing, not quite closing enough though, as they go through the Ascari chicane. Again, these medium tyres going to slowly start to wear out, but they'll probably be good for a good 15 laps, I reckon. These are only halfway through their life. Jerdy though will probably want to come into the pit lane very, very shortly, or at least in the next couple of laps or so. The Alpine pulling out a toe just to spot his braking point, should be around about the 50 metre board, and as long as he's got a good enough run, he could be able to take or retake the race lead. As Kachau looking ever more vulnerable in terms of his ERS deployment. Is Domily just waiting for Kachau to run out? No, he's not. He's going to come right back at him to the inside. Is he going to blitz past before the corner? The Alpine ahead and under brakes. The Haas, not really much to say about that. The Alpine though sent in deep. He got a little bit scared. Now the Haas is going to come back at him around the outside of turn 2. It's now a straight drag fight towards Curva Grande and towards the Della Rosa chicane. Is the Alpine going to be able to go around the outside? No. He's going to tuck in now. Kachau going to the inside, the left hand side, covering off his inside line, the preferable line. Domily though switching to the inside, break stay, not quite late enough as they go through the Della Rosa, practically pushing him is the Alpine, and they still stay 1, 2 and 3, Kachau, Domily and Jurdy, with a lot of battles going on. This is definitely a race to remember, with Toss his perfect opportunity to close the gap in the championship to stay in front. He's not going to be doing much of that today. Jurdy, even with his penalty, wants to close the gap. You can see Kachau weaving around left to right, trying to break that slipstream, trying to break that toe. You can see Jurdy to the right hand side of Ascari, maybe, but not quite. He's just going to back out of that one and think better of it through the Ascari chicane once more. And Domily 5/10s back. He just doesn't let him breathe. Kachau almost within sub 20% ERS, whereas Domily 70%, nearly a full battery compared to the Haas. And Domily heading out of the Alberta curve, going to use that ERS, a little bit of a push just to get that acceleration up and get the momentum going. DRS open. Is he going to be closing enough in order to put that pressure on in towards turn 1? Is Jurdy going to be close enough? No, not quite. They're not going to be able to put the pressure on. In fact, he does close, but it's all going to be in vain, because that braking zone does come up relatively quickly, and he has got a decent run off of turn 1s and 2. And through Curva Grande, flat out, doesn't want to turn it too early, and look at that slipstream. Very, very powerful around Monza, but again, that straight just runs out too quickly for you to mount too much of a challenge in towards the Della Rosa chicane. And we look further back because Mark of Kenya is on the back of Lasse. The Williams to the inside of the Haas is going to be the preferable line. He can claim the corner as long as he can brake late enough, but the Haas going to swoop around the outside, pin the Williams. A nice move from Lasse to hang on to P7 there. Incredible stuff in order for him to do so. DRS open for Domily, who's used a little bit of ERS in order to just push the button and get that momentum going. ERT Henry going for a spin off the exit of turn 2. This is Domily to the inside, maybe of Ascari. He's going to look, not quite going to be able to send. That's going to hurt his momentum and might even allow Jurdy to close the gap. You can see it. There's such a poor run that Domily has gotten, and that's just going to be music to Jurdy's ears. And he's going to be absolutely loving the sight of a slow Alpine in front, because it means he can get himself in towards the top 2. And 4/10 separate Kachau and Jurdy, and Domily in between the two. DRS open, it will be for the Alpine, who's going to look and try and make another attempt of it, but again just saving his ERS. Not too interested, because Kachau is wasting all of it trying to stay ahead. He's now blinking his rain light to indicate to the Alpine that, hey, I'm low on ERS, I need to save, so I'm going to be a little bit slower. And again, that's just going to be Domily licking his lips and saying, well, this is going to be a lot easier for me to get through now. And you can already see, using that ERS to try and close the gap a little bit more, he's going to be able to blitz past the next time he tries. And this was all part of his plan. Wait for Kachau to be vulnerable, and it's going to make your life a hell of a lot easier in towards the Della Rosa. Backing off again, filling those mirrors, making sure Kachau knows that you're there, and try not to make more mistakes like that one off the exit. Connects in towards the pit lane for his first and final stop of this race to Lesmos 1 and 2. Kachau leads them around. Domily though right behind. He's definitely got the favourable amount of ERS in this train, managing to save it and keep that pace, use that DRS to his advantage, and that is why sometimes leading the train can be both a burden and a blessing, because you've got that burden of having to drain your ERS, but the blessing of leading the race, and it definitely does. It's a bittersweet moment, because you're leading the race, but you're also ruining your race in the sense that your ERS are going to drain, and you've not got a hell of amount of corners in order to regain that. Very difficult to do so. Kachau, a great run through Alboreto. Is Domily now finally going to push his button and use that ERS to his advantage? Look at that, DRS open, using the slipstream. Is he going to be able to close enough to mount a challenge in towards turn 1? He's closing, looks to the inside, but again, just not able to close enough. And I think he's still interested in just sitting behind and waiting for either the Haas to completely run out of energy, or just make a mistake, one of the two. And either way, he's being patient. He does not want to throw it all away at once. Connects, getting past Henry, who once again makes a bit of a mistake and is without a front wing off the exit of Ascari. Domily as well on the back of Kachau are still racing each other. Lasse though, a DNF from the session into the pit lane, which is very strange indeed. I would not have expected him to do a DNF from this race, but each to their own. He was driving very well. and was doing very well. Well, inside the midfield, so it'll be interesting to see what his view on why he DNF'd is. Through Ascari, Domili, through the right, through the left. Don't want to hit that curb on the inside though. Kachau just seems to get an incredible run. Domili just doesn't have the pace through the Ascari chicane, it seems. Domili trying to set up a good enough exit in order to blitz past the Haas. Are we finally going to see a change for the race lead, or are we just going to see Domili back out of it once more, or are we going to see Jordi try and get himself in the mix, but he's not quite got the ERS, the energy recovery system, in order to do that. And still Kachau, looking in his mirrors, wants to defend, but just knows that if Domili does want to go for it, he will. And Domili just sitting back, charging his ERS, saying, well, okay, I'm just going to wait here, I'm going to do my own thing, I'm going to just let you do yours, you can just chill up in front, you know, for the time being. I'm going to let you, I'm just going to let you lead yourself into that false sense of security. I'm leading the race, he's not going to get past, but just look at the sheer difference in terms of battery and confidence the Alpine has over the Haas. He seems to be the quicker driver, he seems to be the more consistent driver, and his ERS management has definitely played a part in him being able to set himself up in such a good position that he is in now. Lap 14 of 27, now halfway through this Grand Prix, down this back straight as we go underneath the old banking. We'd love to see a modern Formula 1 car go around the old banking. Would not be safe, would not be FIA grade 1 at all, but it would be a nice little test. Maybe Red Bull can do it for us. They'd be the ones to do it, I'm sure. Through the left of Ascari, Kachau going very wide. As Toss gets himself a 5-second penalty for speeding in the pit lane, and Toss, after being in the previous Monza race winner's seat, doesn't seem to be having all good of a race today, with penalties and crashes and spins and pit stops for him going his way. Lap 15, and Jordi finally into the pit lane. He took them softs a commendable distance, I will have to say. He really took them far. This is now going to be changed for the race lead, because the Alpine's now going to send it up the inside. Is Kachau going to fight it? No, he's not. The Alpine up the inside, very clean as you'd like it, into the race lead. Says, thank you very much, I'm going to be on my absolute merry way. And he's going to try and blitz his way into the distance. Probably is expecting to come into the pit lane very soon, and does not want to get held up by the Haas any longer. Wants to get on with things, wants to do his own thing, and wants to stay in front and stay in control. While the Haas has definitely been a quick driver, he's not quite been to the level of Domili has, who has just been a dominant force. Come in with 3 minutes left to go in quali, he set 1 lap time. That was good enough for a decent midfield position. Managed to get himself into P2 on the sprint race. Started second, got the lead into turn 1, lost it again to Kachau, and has just been waiting for the remainder of the stint to get through. Finally has, but now Kachau has got the DRS. He's the one with the DRS. He's the one that can save a little bit more. He doesn't have to expend as much ERS in order to stay in front. While he is doing that, he doesn't need to. And these two probably will come into the pit lane very soon for a fresh set of soft compound tyres, because the tyre wear not all too difficult around here. Maybe a bit of graining to the front left. Are either of them going to come in? Kachau though is going to react. He comes in, he's going to be proactive, he's going for the undercut. Domili stays out though, and he knows this is hammer time. He knows he needs to come in this lap, and you can see using his ERS in order to maximise the pace. 205 miles an hour as he slams on the anchors through turns 1 and 2. David up into P2. Granted, it's not P2 after pit stop split themselves out, but it's a P2 nonetheless from the back of the grid at the first timed lap quali. He's managed to work his way up to second on the grid at the moment. Ooh, Domili getting it all wrong on his in-lap. Does not want to be doing that over the grass, and that could allow Kachau maybe, in order to get the undercut done, he's going to be on the fresh soft compound tyres. He's going to be slightly quicker than the Alpine. That's all going to aid Kachau in his bid to get himself back into the race lead. And as long as he is within a second or outside of a second of Domili, and by that I mean ahead, an absolute classic so far. It has been a banger of a race. Cali Rob a 1:22.190 for the Aston Martins. He currently sits P11, won't be taking that extra point. Will Domili though come into the pit lane? He's done well over halfway distance on those mediums. He's trained up all of his ERS in order to have as best an in-lap as he can. He's going to put himself into the pit lane, used up all his deployment. And is he in? He is indeed. He knew that lap was crucial. Can he get it stopped for the pit lane? Just about. It's a very sketchy pit lane, is Monza. And it's going to be a straight fight between himself and Kachau. A very short pit lane here in Monza. not one where you lose particularly a lot of time by doing it. But Kachau knows this lap has been very crucial. Where is Domily? He's got his tyres fitted, and Kachau rounding this corner, rounding the final corner now. It's going to be, I reckon it's going to be side by side on the exit. Where's Domily? He's now got the pit exit line. He's going to be very slow. Here comes Kachau to the left-hand side. He is ahead. He's managed to get himself into the race lead and undercut. An absolute strategic mastermind from the Haas guys to get himself into the lead. However, Domily is going to get right back in front of him though, because Kachau has got into his head. He's locked the rears through turns 1 and 2, and he's locked the rears, and he's gone wide, and he's spun round, and he's now seconds behind Domily, and all of that hard work on the strategy has now been undone by the reigning champion, who got himself back into race winning contention and is now about 2.5 seconds back on Domily after the pit stops. That is a big shame, and he's got his work cut out for him for the final 11 laps of this Italian Grand Prix, and it's looking ever more comfortable then for Domily to take his race victory around a track that you would not have expected him to do so. David using up the remainder of his ERS. And towards the Sky chicane. Chucking it through is the AlphaTauri. Very nicely done. Is David going to finally come into the pit lane? No, he stays out still, waiting for a safety car maybe? I'm not entirely sure, though. Kachau's going to want to get past back past Jody, who come in a couple laps prior to the guys who were leading. He's now back behind him, using up all his ERS as well. This is just a battery fight between the two, though. He's going to look for the space on the inside. He's not going to find it, so he's going to go the long way around. He's going to commit the Red Bull, though, even later under brakes. Claims the corner. The Haas going to go for a switcheroo, go back underneath him as the Red Bull gets caught over the sausage curbs. Says thank you very much, and even side by side between the AlphaTauri and the Williams as they both squirm their exits. And it's going to be side by side for Curva Grande. The Williams going to go the long way around. He's going to use his ERS to try and keep that foot in, but Vert claims the corner and he's going to have the inside in towards the De La Rocha chicane, though the Williams going to find the space. Is he? Not quite. So Vert into the top 6. Very nicely done indeed. Could even be a top 5 after Mark of Kenya and David come in. Will not be a very, very bad thing indeed for them. Calirob going around the outside of the 3-time champion, though goes in a bit too deep, so the reigning champion of Honesy going to come right back at him, get the Ferrari back inside the top 10 after what has been a very, very dismal race for himself indeed. A promising start, but went straight on a T1. It was very chaotic. I couldn't even tell who was going straight on. I couldn't tell what was going on. It was just a car going off, and it was very, very chaotic indeed, though. David back into the pit lane for his first stop of this race. Mark of Kenya going to stay out, though. One more lap to take the lead. Where is David going to drop to? He's going for softs. It's going to be a very quick soft stint. Domily, though, fastest of anyone, a 1:21.9 at 2:8 on the fresh softs and lighter fuel. That is Alpine. The AlphaTauri, though, looking to the right hand side of Jody, very close between the two. It's going to be the Red Bull that's later on the brakes, though. The AlphaTauri going to claim the corner. Bit of contact between the two as around the outside goes the AlphaTauri. Gets a nice drive off the corner, and Jody not with much to say about that one. And Vert very much mugging the pair of them off, and that could even be a provisional podium after Mark of Kenya comes into the pit lane. Vert could see himself in an AlphaTauri in an Italian outlet team on the podium, especially now. Kachau, another 3-second penalty for multiple warnings, or his first 3-second penalty, I should say. So if he can close up, only 2.5 seconds between Vert and Kachau. If he can close up, could see himself on for P2. We never ever know what can happen around Monza. It's definitely thrown more unpredictable things our way. And well, the way the 2020 Grand Prix went, we won't be surprised if we see Vert win in an AlphaTauri after Pierre Gasly's inaugural race victory. This time last year, through Ascari, through the left, through the right, through the left again. Jurdy pretty much swamped on the exit. Tom Prof going to react, going to go to the left hand side. It's going to be the long way around for the Williams, though he doesn't have the overspeed. He's going to have to tuck back in, wants a little bit more of the slipstream so that he can commit to the outside. He's going to go for it, brakes very late, bit of contact, the Red Bull's been sent round. Jurdy backwards now towards the barrier, and he's managed to save it, lock the front, and that is Tom being a little bit too ambitious around the outside, I think. Just sweeping away the Red Bull a little bit too much. He definitely had the line, and if it had turned across maybe 1 or 2 seconds later, that would not have been his fault whatsoever. But into such a fast corner, you need to give the space, you need to leave the space, and I'm sure the stewards will definitely have a look at that one. Straight little, a 3-second time penalty for multiple warnings. So again, McLaren's trouble is going from bad to worse Mark of Kenya still leads the way. 3 seconds over Domi Lee though. Mark of Kenya yet to pit. And if there is a safety car, he's going to be absolutely loving life. If not, then it's worth a try. And to seeing how far you can take those medium tyres, which are probably going to be screaming for help at this point. He's just shy of 7.5 laps left to go. Bulk order of water for Kachau to bottle on all of that is very true. Incredibly true indeed. He's definitely got the bottle lid open, and we've got a bit of action going on. This is the Ferrari of David up the inside very cleanly after his pit stop on those fresh softs. He's now chasing after Vert. That could be the fight for the podium. He's not got a penalty at all. So from the back of the grid at the original qualifying, worked up to P8 after the sprint qualifying, and is now in contention in a Ferrari at Monza for a podium as they come through. Alboreto, Mark of Kenya finally deciding to come in, so Vert's going to inherit P3. It's a battle between the two Italian teams for a podium at Monza. David closing, pulls to the right hand side, is going to blitz past, but with not a lot of ERS in the tank, neither for the AlphaTauri. He gets in front, gets himself into the top 3, and without a penalty could be looking very, very good indeed. And even though if Kachau gets another one and David doesn't get any, he could be good maybe for a P2 as well. Lap 21 of 27 then in the closing stages of this Grand Prix. And Vengeance all over the back of Mark of Kenya, who once again, another driver making that same Kachau bottle mistake, where you go sideways off the exit of turn 1, lock the rears a little bit, and you lose the position because of it. Mark of Kenya just out of the pit lane. Cold tyres definitely going to be getting the better of him. He's going to come back at the Mercedes to the left hand side. How late can he be under brakes? He's going to be very late under brakes. The Mercedes just gives him that one and says, okay, you can have that. Fair enough, fair game. P7 for Mark of Kenya, 3.7 seconds to the next car in front. Can he do it? We'll have to wait and see. NRL Kachau though, 2.3 seconds back on Domi, and that gap has been coming down slightly over the last couple of laps, but Domi seems to be the man in control. Don't forget, Kachau has got a 3-second time penalty, so even if he does close up, he needs to gain 5.2 seconds on the Alpine in order to seal a race victory. So Domi, definitely one of the surprise winners. He's one of the quickest men on track at the moment. One of the quickest drivers overall all throughout this season. Through turn 2, very comfortably doing so. Kachau though finding a second wind of pace, it seems, because he is closing at a rate of knots. A few tenths in the last few corners, and that's still coming down. He's not got a lot in the way of ERS in order to close that gap once he gets there, but chipping away slowly but surely on the Alpine in front. HG Vengeance on the back of Mark of Kenya, despite being on 12 lap old hard tyres, not doing a bad job at all. Sector 3 as Henry has decided to call it a day after a promising start to this race. But unfortunately couldn't convert, and it's going his way. It's cost him a chance to fight for this race lead, but the toss a 10-second penalty for exceeding track limits. A shame for him, but here comes the Aston Martin of Ben, the Aston Martin of Caliweb, I should say, around the outside of the Alpine of Ben to get himself towards the top 10 very cleanly, very nicely done so. And the number 88 ahead, and clean as you'd like it. Mark of Kenya managing to close that gap to the Rebel of Jardy, now down to just under a second, 7.6 tenths. He's in within DRS range and is closing at an absolute rate of knots. That is the Mercedes of Connects going round for a spin at Lesmo 1. 2 seconds separate the two leaders. David, if he can close 2 more tenths on Kachau, can get himself on to second place. This is Mark of Kenya closing at a rate of knots on Jardy, pulls to the left hand side and towards the De La Rocha. Is he going to get himself ahead? Indeed he is, and Jardy can't go all the way around the outside, unfortunately. And 10 seconds to the car in front. It's a Williams 5-6 as it stands between Tom and Mark. So a good day in the office for the Williams boys. Despite a disappointing qualifying, they've definitely bounced back in the race. 1.6 seconds separate the top two. Domi and Kachau very close together. With the hat 1.6 seconds behind. Remember, it's 1 second to get that DRS, the benefit of the drag reduction system, an extra 20 kph or so down this back straight. will definitely not go amiss. Could Shirley come back, and Mark of Kenya in towards the Retafidio chicane. We'll have to wait and see. He's not quite got the ERS in order to do so, but neither does Mark of Kenya in order to defend. So it's going to be a straight drag fight. Honda versus Mercedes. Who's running the lower wings, who's running no wing, and that is going to be Jurdy because he's got the DRS, he's using the slipstream. Not quite going to be enough in terms of raw engine power in order to close that gap. Little bits here and there though, and considering Mark is on fresh soft tyres, I don't think Jurdy's doing too bad of a job. Bit of a mistake in towards turn 1 though. That is going to set him back slightly. Going through the right-hander of Curva Grande, the long right. This is Kachau managing to close up again in the middle sector. He's very quick in the middle sector compared to Domily. Has managed to close a couple of attempts. We'll probably see that gap open back up over the course of the next couple of corners. But Kachau through the middle sector especially, very quick. Who was that going around? I believe that was one of the Alpines. Is that Ben going sideways? I believe it was, or it's the Mercedes of Connect. Indeed it is the Mercedes of Connect, whose race started off well but hasn't ended well by any means. As we come on to lap 25 of 27, 3 laps left to go of the Italian Grand Prix. Domily leads from Kachau, David P3 with P4. Tom Prof rounds off the top 5 with his Williams teammate in P6. Jurdy, Vengeance Honesy and Callie O'Brien off the top 10 with Ben Stewart, Little Toss and Connects rounding off the field. As Domily, more mistakes like that will allow Kachau to close the gap, and it has allowed Kachau to close the gap. Connects retired from the session in the pit lane. 1.1 seconds separate the two leaders, and now David has got himself into contention for P2 if as long as he keeps it clean and does not get any penalties for the remainder of this race. 2.5 laps left to go. 1.1 seconds, and make that 9/10 of a second separate Domily and Kachau, the two race leaders, the two tyrants that have been fighting neck and tail for this race lead since the start of the race. One started first, the other started second, and it was flipped in towards turn 1. Domily managing to get the jump off the line. Kachau fought back at him though once he got their earliest opportunity. He managed to stay in front for a majority of the stint. Domily though come right back at him towards the end and towards the pit stop window, and now in the dying stages with around about 2 laps left to go. They're separated by 0.4 of a second, and even though there's a penalty in it, Domily can still get one himself, so it's definitely not over by any means as he's lagging around, not really knowing where he's going. That might not benefit Kachau too much in order to find a way through, but he's got the ERS. He's not going to have he's going to have the DRS. He's not going to have much in the way of ERS. Domily lagging around. You can see that red X really not helping, but still Kachau closing a red and Norris. Domily going defensive, doesn't really know where to go. Here's the Haas. Is he going to go all the way around the outside? No, he's going to wait and allow the Alpine to go in deep. The Haas going to try and set up the double switcheroo. David losing a couple of attempts, and Kachau well and truly in the slipstream on this penultimate lap of the Italian Grand Prix. Domily versus Kachau, a drag race towards the Della Roja. It's going to be the Alpine that stays in front for the time being, with 1.5 laps left in this race. Stuart Little, a 3-second time penalty for multiple warnings. You can see Kachau wants this win, even if it is only on track. Through Lesmo 1 over the curb. As Toss gets himself another 3-second penalty, P12 and 13 for the two McLarens. Definitely not their day whatsoever. Kachau in the DRS of Domily, who still can't decide where his car wants to be because he's lagging around and doesn't really know where to go. The Haas looking to the inside of Ascari, not quite going to work. His best bet probably is going to be in towards the Retafidio chicane. Coming onto the final lap, is that Domily going wide? No, it's not. It's the game making me panic a little bit that our race leader just put himself into the wall. David though gaining 0.6 on the two in front and is now looking good for a P2 finish, unless Kachau can do anything about it, unless David gets a penalty, unless Domily also gets a penalty. It will be himself that takes the win of the Italian Grand Prix, but we never know. 11 more corners left to go. Lap 27 of 27. DRS is closing with Kachau. Domily goes defensive. Kachau can't quite find the space to the inside, so he's going to go the long way around. Is the Alpine going to fight back? He's late on the brakes. Maybe a bit of contact between the two. The Haas comes back at him through turn 2, and the Alpine still side by side, gets the drive off the corner, and Domily stays in the race lead. But Kachau going to use everything he's got left in the tank, in the battery, closing on Domily, who's going to have to go defensive in towards the Della Roja. In fact, leaves the door open and fights Kachau in. Is he going to be late enough on the brakes? No, he's tucked back in. Wants that good run through turns 3 and 4. And in towards Lesmo 1 and 2. His final chance is going to be down in towards Ascari, and then maybe in towards the Alboreto curve through Lesmo 1. David also in the mix. 1.4 seconds separates him and the leaders. NRL Kachau in the DRS, in the ERS. Not a lot of fuel left either in the tank. and it's going to be Domili maybe that hangs on to win, because NRL Cachao just doesn't have the overriding pace in order to close the gap. He's going to give it everything through Ascari, through the left, through the right, makes a bit of a mistake, and that's going to allow Domili to open up the gap even more so. And as long as David keeps it clean, you can see Cachao weaving around left and right, not really bothered anymore whether or not he gets this win. David's going to get P2 in front of the home crowd, but Domili, one shot qualifying, got himself on the front row in the sprint qualifying. He's going to go across the line. He's had everything thrown at him. The Alpine, Domili wins the Italian Grand Prix with Cachao P2 at the road, but David in a Ferrari in front of the home crowd. P2, a very, very commendable effort indeed. This is Vert across the line, P4 at the end of it. Tom Prof brings home a Williams 5 and 6. Mark of Kenya bringing it home just behind, a couple of seconds back across the line, and Shirley making amends for what's been a pretty dismal day for Red Bull. Had the potential but not quite able to convert. PA for Vengeance, and the three-time champion of Honesy in front of the home crowd still brings home a couple of points, but not anywhere near what he would have wanted to do considering the overriding pace that he did have. The American Cali Rob in the Aston Martin is going to come across the line and say thank you very much for a P10, and he's sure not going to be complaining about that one. Ben comes home P11 and still waiting for the two McLarens of Stuart Little and Toss, who are very, very close to each other. Ascari for the final time. Stuart Little will be the first of them. And through the final corner, the final time, the two McLarens bring it home, 12th and 13th. Not their day by any means, but yeah, that's a shame. They're gonna have to bounce back. And after 27 laps of very, very intense racing, the Alpine takes the win ahead of the Ferrari and the Haas. And that Alpine being Domili, second on the grid. A very, very hard-fought victory. Took a fast lap of a 21.9 over a second slower than the fastest lap set by Honesy, though. David in a Ferrari from 8th on the grid. And at last, when it came to the time to qualifying, finishes P2 with Cachao P3. And after a very poor run of form for the reigning champion, he's definitely back and is on the pace. Vert P4 for the AlphaTauri, and a 5-6 for Williams with Tom Prof and P5, and Mark of Kenya P6. Jolly P7 with Vengeance P8, Honesy P9 with Cali Rob P10. P11 for NRL Ben with Stuart Little P12. The two Scotsmen of Toss and Connect 13th and 14th. ERT Henry and Lasse, the two unable to make it to the end, as well as Connects. Unfortunately, 3 retirements, no safety cars, and a very, very clean race overall, despite the very big crash that happened at turn 1 on lap 1. But I hope you have enjoyed. I've been Zach Sweeney. This has been NRL round number 6 for season 5. This was the Italian Grand Prix. We'll see you next week, and definitely going to be looking forward to it. Bye bye.